you went from 10K months to $1 million a year in less than a year. Well, my memory of you is that like 2 or 3 months in, you made $170,000 in a month.
$183,000 in a month.
2 or 3 months in.
Yeah.
And she's
Yeah.
like, yeah.
Yeah, that happened.
That happened. I know, that's
happened.
mind blowing.
Will you tell us numbers? What were you earning? What was your template around earning money before and after?
We worked together before and after we started working together.
Yeah, in this, just kind of marking this particular milestone.
I was pretty consistently for maybe 4 or 5 months leading up to our conversation. I was pretty consistently flowing in 10K, 10 to 12K a month, which is good. I mean, that's great. That's beautiful. And I was working hard. And I had certain things that were automated that flowed money. And I could feel that that scaling piece wanted to happen, both in terms of my reach and the money flow. And so then when I said yes to us working together, I think the first month, I don't remember the exact amount, but the first month was over 40K that we worked together. And the next month was more than that. It just continued to escalate. Sometimes it would go up and then go down, but all over, since we've started working together, I haven't had a month under 30K. Do you know that?
And how much money did you make in 2021, which was, we started working together a couple months into that year?
In 2021, the business grossed. It was just over 1 million. It was like 1,200,000 and something dollars when I totaled up the gross of everything into the business that year, which is just so cool.
It's so cool.
Congratulations.
It's so cool.
We all just got to witness and hear you doing the thing that you do. You were uncomfortable and you could smile at the same time. You were being asked to radically transform your relationship to, at some level, everything that you had, your relationship to money, your relationship to your business, your relationship to guidance, your relationship to God.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very quickly. And you had enough trust in yourself, enough trust in God, enough trust in your practice to allow grace in. So I just wanted to highlight that because you just described exactly the thing that we've been talking about. That's very specific to you. I think maybe that's the thing that it's like, it's not a binary. Like Tiffany is not just light and luminosity to the exclusion of this other stuff. It's like with the whole thing, your lightness, your potency comes through because it includes all of who you are, which includes the discomfort. It includes the risk. It includes the fear. It includes the anxiety of being perceived as greedy or something else that you don't want to be. It is with all of that you still find a way to prioritize your unconditional connection to source and self.
There's something that I've thought for the very first time in just hearing the both of you speak on this, which is having that spiritual practice is like the priming. It makes us available for grace to come in. But then there's another layer to that, which is it made me feel as if the grace it flows to us when we're actually allowing and acknowledging and loving all of it. Like it just, in my mind and in my heart in that moment, it didn't make sense for us to be on the binary, so restricted, so judgmental. How can grace flow through us if we're so hard on ourselves? How can grace come to us in the moment if we're so arrogant to believe it has to be just this one particular way? The door would be closed. And so I think there's so much to this conversation of the full expanse of the experience and the full expanse of who we are in keeping that door open. But I now I'm curious, what next level of internal shift started to happen for you as you went from 10K a month to over $1 million in a year? I would imagine that there was more. There was like another door and another door.
Mm-hmm.
So can you share about some of the things you learned about yourself in that quickening?
Ooh,
Some of the things
quickening.
that
That's
shifted.
exactly right. It is a quickening. It's a quickening, but it's not. So glad you said that, because it's not the kind of quickening that's like speed up, speed up, speed up, because you're like almost running from your own fear. That's the kind of quickening that gets us ungrounded and, it doesn't feel very good. But this kind of quickening that you're pointing to, it's like, it's the nature of exponential self. I actually think it's the nature of these times. It's what we're being invited into. Like when we live in fluidity with our multidimensional self, grounded and connected to the heavens at the same time. This is what we came here to do, to create and to be in this exponential self way, which is a quickening, but not a speeding up. You actually get to savor more and feel more and integrate more. And in regards to your question, I love that. I mean, the whole process of like working one-on-one with Jesse, and then I went through Sales Full Stop, the small group program. I think this is really where the whole sales as spiritual practice concept, like if I had to put it in a sentence, it would be that, because then the work of sales and of prices and of value ended up becoming my spiritual teachers. And the engaging with all of that was the spiritual practice. So everything from, just to ground this down for people listening, like, well, give me an example. Everything from, I raise my rates exponentially for working one-on-one with me. I have free offerings, I have low cost offerings. Those are all on, they're automated, they're virtual. But then I raised my rates exponentially for working together one-on-one and in small group. And it felt like the most right thing ever in my business life. And at the same time, it scared the shit out of me. And it was so enormously uncomfortable, like really enormously uncomfortable. But there's a big difference between, or I think you probably know, like the difference between being like needless suffering in one's experience versus being uncomfortable because you're growing and you come to love that discomfort. Like, yes, I'm building a muscle. like look at my abs now.
You just made me think of runner's high, actually, Tiffany.
She made me think of like wanting to throw up when you work out so hard. Like, you're getting it. Like, you're standing there, but you're like, I might throw up. I'm working out so hard, but it also feels so good. Like, next level. Sorry, Jesse.
No, I love that you just said that, because it's like, it's both.
Yeah.
Or we have to be willing to feel both in order to grow in the way that Tiffany's describing. I legitimately have never been a runner. I do not enjoy running. I would feel the way that you just described, Rihanna, if I don't think I've experienced runner's high. Like,
it comes after the wanting to throw up.
Exactly.
Yes.
So like just making that connection, I think is super important. It's like there is bliss in the growth, in the strengthening, in the efforting, certainly also in the ease. And I love this metaphor. Because if you ain't used to it, you're going to feel it. Feel it. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's going to feel shitty for a minute. I'm picturing the documentary series where I begin running. And then one day experience runner's high. Like that's I think that's really, really useful. Thank you for bringing that in, both of you.
Everything you want already.